Welcome to KMET 1490 AM ABC News Radio and the Southern California Business Report with Yvette Walker, a show dedicated to highlighting successful Southern California businesses and the people behind them.
Welcome and thank you for joining the Southern California Business Report on ABC News and Talks, KMET 1490 AM, 98.1 FM, and KMET TV. I'm Yvette Walker, live, blasting our signal from the center of Southern California, serving a population over 25 million. Get us crystal clear and on demand by downloading the free live streaming app on Google Play or the Apple App Store. A huge shout out to the team as always, Mitch, Bill, and Sean. I love you guys. And to our special advisory committee, Bill Morris, UCI School of Business, Jose and Camila Rubio, thank you so much. If you haven't checked out the Jay Kaplan Show, don't forget to do so every Friday at 3, as well as the Aaron Michael Sanchez Morning Show every morning at 8 a.m., also here on KMET 1490 AM, 98.1 FM, and KMET TV. So today I have the distinct pleasure and honor to introduce Mr. Paul Leon, who was appointed to the City Council in Ontario in 1998. He was later elected to the City Council in 1999 and re-elected in 2000 and 2004. He served as Mayor Pro Tem from December 2002 until January 2005. Paul was elected to mayor in a special election in June of 2005 and re-elected to 4-year terms in November 2006, 2010, 2014, and 2018. He has been mayor for 15 years. In addition to his mayoral duties, Mayor Leon also serves as senior pastor of Hope Chapel Church in Ontario. Over the years, Mayor Leon has represented Ontario on regional boards with Southern California Association of Governments, SCAG, San Bernardino Associated Governments, SANBAG, and Omnitrans, and has served as the council liaison to the Los Angeles World Airports Board of Airport Commissioners. A native of Southern California, Paul is a graduate of Nordhoff High School in Ojai, the U.S. Army Security Agency Training Center and School at Fort Devens, Massachusetts, attended Cleveland Institute of Electronics and Next Dimensions Bible College, where he was awarded a Doctorate of Divinity. Thank you so much for being with us today, Mayor Leon.
My street education is far more valuable than everything that you just read off.
Well, isn't that always the case, right? Street smarts, book smarts, when they're both combined, they can be super effective, which basically describes your tenure as mayor for the past 15 years. It seems as though everything that has occurred has accelerated as a result of you being mayor in that time frame. And I'm going to start with the Ontario International Airport. But before we go there, please just talk a little bit about your background for those that are meeting you for the first time, and talk about what it is that inspired you to run for public office and become mayor of Ontario, California.
Well, I'm from Ojai, California, number one. I graduated from, as you said, Nordhoff High School, which was featured in the movie Easy A, which is where that Emma Stone got a real big start in the movies as the student going to my high school in the movie. Oh. So it was it has a little bit of fame. I grew up in basically a poor Mexican family, and I had a mother and father at home and 5 kids, and it was a struggle to just maintain food on the table and a roof over your head. My parents did really well with the money they didn't have, and they just made up the difference by loving their kids, and we did whatever it took to survive, including farming in our backyard. But the backyard in Ojai was a lot bigger than most people have backyards today. We had a pretty big lot and a very small home. So I learned how to raise chickens and grow vegetables and fruits and other things. And both my mother and father had been in the farm working at times. My mother was a farm worker in Los Angeles, so was my grandparents. So were my grandparents. And my father's family were migrant farm workers in California, going all the way back before the turn of the 19th century. I got to be clear to say the turn of the 19th century, because I tell kids today who are, 18, 20 years old or above that I was born in the 19th century.
And a lot of kids don't get that. It sounds so ancient to them, right?
Yeah. So, my grandfather was born in the 18th century. So, on my mother's side. So, anyway, we have some deep roots in California, and I went into the military and had a great time in the military and learned a lot. Got out, found out there was nothing to do in the Ojai area to work in the mid 70s, and so I came here where my brother was at the time in Montclair. I started working in the area and ended up through just a bunch of different things. I ended up working for a counseling agency. Had done a lot of Bible college work and was going to a church and had some youth ministry. My wife and I were doing youth ministry that was very successful. So I started to do social work on a program that was paid for by the county to address the issues of violence in the west end of the county, which is here in San Bernardino. And it was through that work of doing successful things that were being recognized by the local media. At the time, the newspaper meant a lot. I hate to say it, but the newspaper doesn't mean a whole lot anymore. It doesn't seem to. People don't really pay attention to the newspaper like they used to. And but it's kind of internet, social media, and platform news. But back then, it was almost like the only way that people got to know something at the front door. So the work that I was doing in the social work here, the central part of Ontario, and the successes that we were having in turning kids from drugs and gangs involvement into productive people in the community was getting a lot of notoriety. So when there was a need for to make an appointment to city council, the city of Ontario had notoriously been known as having a high percentage of Hispanics, but never a Hispanic leader in the city council, one in the entire history of the city at the time. So there was some clamoring for an appointment of a Hispanic, and I was the selected Hispanic at the time. I fit the bill, but I also wasn't a radical or anything. So I was able to get in with the then city council as an appointee and then won an election. And I've been here ever since. I ran for mayor in 2005. By the way, that was 1998 when I was appointed. And then I ran successfully a couple more times. I ran for mayor in 2005 and won. And I've been mayor ever since. And I just feel like I don't specialize in representing an ethnicity. I represent all people, and I love all people. And through sometimes the discrimination, like what I grew up with in Ojai, it wasn't necessarily racism, it was socioeconomicism. So if you didn't have money, it didn't really matter what ethnicity you were in Ojai. There was always this little thing. And today I see that here too, that we have these ideas of people based upon how much money they make. So I've been vigilant through my years to try to equal or to level that playing field for everybody so that nobody gets taken advantage of or left behind because of the socioeconomic advantages or disadvantages, I should say.
Right. And so I want to bring into focus one of the major economic drivers that you were an integral part of materializing, which is securing the management and the ownership of Ontario International Airport. Please talk about the economic impact and trajectory that it's had on the city of Ontario and its residents today.
Recently, a very dear friend of mine passed away, Bob Dutton. And when I first started, he was a council member in Cucamonga, then he became a assembly member, then a senator, and then the county controller. I believe he was a tax collector controller. Anyway, Bob used to say that the best solution for welfare is a good job. And in Ontario, we have focused on providing our community, because I say community, I'd like to say the city, but in reality, people don't really know the boundaries of where they live. So if we create something in Ontario, we can't say, or it doesn't work to just say, well, if you live outside, 4th Street North, you can't participate. That's not the way it goes. It's a regional decision. So when we saw that the airport was being, in our belief, mismanaged by Los Angeles in order for them to capitalize on all air traffic. If this airport isn't being managed correctly and nobody wants to use it, and it's just, it looks bad, it doesn't work well, there aren't many flights, everyone is driven to Los Angeles. And at the time they were building the Bradley terminals, and I don't want to get into inside baseball, but they needed all of the money they could get. So we pretty much caught them in that practice of diverting everything that they could as they were managing this or mismanaging this airport. So we went about the task. By the way, in the history, nobody has ever been able to purchase an airport. Now, Los Angeles kind of did. They didn't really purchase Ontario from Ontario. They came to a management agreement that turned into an ownership. And they actually participated on their side with maybe a $1.7 million contribution to the city of Ontario in the 1960s, which
Wow.
we had to turn around and buy it back for $265 million.
Talk about a return on investment, right?
Well, for them, but it was also a pretty good deal for us. I mean, who wouldn't buy an airport that had ancillary properties around it that would go far beyond that value that we picked up? Also, just a couple of properties on the east side are worth more than $300 million. So we made an investment in the legal battle to recapture control of our local airport. And one of the reasons was, as any kind of port, whether it's a seaport, a river port, crossways in the desert, wherever there is transportation meets, crosses, like an airport, that's where the economy booms. So all we needed to do was wrestle it away and then manage it correctly. And our economy in this region, not just Ontario, would boom. And it has. And that was what we were all about when we were doing this.
Right. And since then, it seems like Ontario has become, in my view, almost like the beating heart of the Inland Empire in terms of economic opportunities and trajectory and, a benefit, like you said, not only to Ontario, but to surrounding communities, inclusive of, Fontana, which Mayor Aquanetta Warren has, taken advantage of and transformed her own city to be that conduit of commerce alongside the international airport.
Well, she's one of my best friends in the whole world. I'm glad that she is who she is and taking advantage of it. If they didn't, let's say they fought it, well, the people suffer. So.
Exactly. So let's talk about some of the businesses that have taken advantage of that opportunity in the peripheral properties that are, adjacent to Ontario International Airport. I think the last time we spoke, there was a major FedEx facility being developed alongside the airport as well.
Well, I mean, let's just talk about Amazon and QVC. They both have, and Uline. And Uline is a very interesting business because it is what we call the Amazon for business. And they have an incredible business model. If you order something from Amazon, you really want it there the next day. And for most people, that kind of delivery is just critical to them, and how much that they use Amazon. If you order something from any other online provider, it takes a while, usually a week, maybe 2 weeks to get something. But for the most part, if you order something from Amazon, it's there the next day. And they're able to do that because they have this real fast communication through the ordering process that reaches their warehouse, that automatically picks that item and throws it down the line, and it's in process of getting shipped to you within minutes of you clicking on the computer. Uline is even more efficient for the business customer who needs boxes, who needs a four-wheeler, who needs a trash can, who needs anything that supports their warehousing or their brick and mortar store. And Uline has just completed a 1 million square foot warehouse in our south end of town. And then they are just exceptional employers. Not only do they pay people well above the normal entry rate of wage, but then they also have a profit sharing program nationwide, so that as Uline makes a ton of money, the people share in that profit, no matter where they work, whether it's on the line in the warehouse or in HR in the office. It's an amazing business model, and very, very down to earth personal people. But we have those guys. We have and the airport gives them that opportunity to be here as a hub. So what has happened is Ontario and the region ends up once again as a national and international hub that bustles with business, and business needs employees. And it's just the way it goes. I don't care if you're in a seaport, crossroads of the desert, the Silk Road of the ancient times, or Ontario Airport. We're the #1 cargo airport in the country, by the way.
Oh my goodness, that is phenomenal. So I can only imagine the residents of Ontario and the surrounding communities are just, overwhelmed and so overjoyed at the fact that they don't have to commute, 40 minutes, an hour, 2 hours, even 3 hours. I've heard of commutes of some people that, do 3-hour commutes to get to work, when it's right there just down the street within, 15, 20 minutes from all of those great, freeways that are not too far from you. The 10, the 210, the 15, the 57, not too far away. I mean, you are so extremely centrally located.
Well, and you're right. That's exactly why the airport, the 3 freeways, and the railway all combine together to make this the most efficient place to be located for the distribution of goods. And some people get a little bit upset and that they say, well, there's too many warehouses. Well, if you're going to capture that end of the business, and a lot of people think that they kind of equate a warehouse job with what we used to call a Mick job. Remember that? You worked at McDonald's, you had a Mick job, you had a hamburger stand, you had a Mick job. These warehouse jobs, some of them are on the lower end of the pay scale, most often higher than minimum wage by far. And at the same time, they still have the even much higher end executives involved. So what it does is it brings a whole new level of residents to our area, as well as a well-paid blue collar. So you have the white collar worker and the blue collar worker coming to make these big warehouses successful. They're not just full of machines and no people. There are people working there who actually have very good lives and very good livings. And you want proof? How does anybody afford something in the number one developing community in the state, which is Ontario Ranch, number 5 in the country. And those houses are not going cheaply, but they're going faster than they can build them. So somebody's working somewhere to make the money to afford these houses. And I mean, we can address the housing crisis, the housing cost crisis, which is real. But we also know that the jobs created by all of this transportation and all the other things give a lot of people quite a bit of money to sustain themselves.
Absolutely. And, also to the fact that these centers also generate tax revenue, right? That go back into the city through services, infrastructure, education, health, all of the things that a community needs to really thrive and to elevate, the quality of life in Ontario.
It's really funny that you mentioned that, because there's always this attempt to steal the revenue from these distribution centers. So whether it was Home Depot at one time, or not, they weren't trying, but other places, other cities, other communities, the state, they're always trying to find a way to wrestle away what's called the point of sale tax. So if you have a retail tax and you have to pay it even when you order off of Amazon, it's not just the price of the item. They say you're going to have to pay a tax. Sometimes they say we're not exactly sure what it is, but it's going to be somewhere around here. Just order off of Amazon and you'll see. Well, there's a tax in our area which is 7.75%, which is split up between the state, the county, and the city. And the city gets the lowest amount of that. But what many people are saying is that now that this online shopping is available, what we really want to do is transfer the tax to the destination where the person bought it in their home. And so there's been many attempts. They have failed so far. But that's what I always say. If it wasn't real, if we weren't really making money with our investments in these in the e-commerce of our region, boosted by the fact that someone can sell it and get it out of here quick through the rail, through the freeways, or through the airport to the customer. If that wasn't a real money-making thing, then everybody wouldn't be fighting to get their hands in the till.
That makes absolute sense. Yes.
Yeah, but it wasn't happening when the airport was mismanaged, and that was where our conversation began.
Right. And so that is just one example of a tremendous economic driver that has really elevated, Ontario and its presence now, not only in California, but in the nation, right? Being the number one distribution hub in the country. That's got to feel pretty amazing for you and all of those that work together to make this possible.
Well, we're the jumping off point for a lot of cargo going to Asia. So, we're here on the West Coast. It's difficult to get things in and out of LAX, but it's very easy to get things in and out of here. So we have UPS, it's been here for a long time. We have FedEx now. DHL is not as well known, but they do a lot of the cargo that's just strictly cargo stuff that people know about. And then of course we have Amazon they have their own aircraft that fly out of here. FedEx has their own aircraft. UPS have their own aircraft, and so they're really moving and humming, and this airport is very easy to operate out of because of its angles. It's not all spread out. And then the fact that we have our passenger terminals are almost up to just before 9/11, and even at and above pre-pandemic. people are using our airport because of its ease. You go in the terminal, you've been there, haven't you?
I absolutely
Oh,
love it. I
yeah.
insist on flying out of Ontario International Airport if I have to fly. It's about 10 minutes from my home. It's easy to get in. It's easy to get out. It's not like LAX where you do actually have to arrive 2 hours early. If you arrive 2 hours early at Ontario, you're going to be waiting a long time because it literally takes only maybe 15 to 20 minutes to get through, TSA, to get to your boarding location and, wait for your flight. But we're going to hit a break right now, Mayor Leon. So please, for those listening, I'm Yvette Walker on Southern California Business Report on ABC News and Talks, KMET 1490 AM, 98.1 FM, and KMET TV, talking to Paul Leon, Mayor of Ontario, California, talking about what is new in one of the fastest growing cities, how securing control of Ontario International Airport has charged the regional economy, and discuss future innovation, infrastructure, and development aimed at elevating the quality of life for those in Ontario and surrounding communities when we return.
The University of Laverne is rated first in California for alumni satisfaction. Learn more about accelerated programs offered online and on campus in Laverne, Irvine, Ontario, Burbank, or College of the Canyons. Visit go.laverne.edu. The University of Laverne. go.laverne.edu.
It's summer, the sun is shining, and now's the time to make the most of your solar panels. Don't lose up to 50% of your solar panels' efficiency just because they're dirty. Get the most out of your solar panels and call my friends at Solar Panel Cleaning Specialists at 951-663-7502. That's 951-663-7502. Mention this ad and receive your discount. Offer expires December 31st.
Hi, I'm San Bernardino County Sheriff Shannon Dykes. If you're looking to start an exciting career in law enforcement and make a difference in your community, we are hiring dispatchers, nurses, deputies, laterals, and many more. For a complete list of our jobs and more information, visit sheriffsjobs.com.
City of Hope is driven to making a difference in the lives of people with cancer and diabetes. We accomplish this by conducting innovative research and providing outstanding care. If you or a loved one has received a cancer diagnosis, go to cityofhope.org to learn more about how our innovative approach could change your outcome.
Every 2 seconds, someone needs a blood transfusion. Be on the giving side. Livestream Blood Bank supports patients in 80 Southern California hospitals. Call 1-800-TRY-GIVING for more information and to set an appointment.
Cal State San Bernardino is home to the only school of entrepreneurship in California. With globally ranked degree programs, you can start your journey today to become a successful entrepreneur. Learn more and connect at entre.csusb.edu.
Ontario International Airport is onto a better way to fly with over 65 daily non-stop flights to more than 20 major destinations and the easiest airport experience in Southern California. Visit flyonto.com/Ontario to learn more about Ontario International Airport today.
Welcome back. For those listening, I'm Yvette Walker on Southern California Business Report on ABC News and Talks, KMET 1490 AM, 98.1 FM, and KMET TV, talking to Paul Leon, Mayor of Ontario, California, talking about what's new in one of the fastest growing cities in the country, how securing control of Ontario International Airport has charged the regional economy, and discussions of future innovation, infrastructure, and development aimed at elevating the quality of life for those in Ontario and surrounding communities. Thank you again for being with us, Mayor Leon.
It's my pleasure. Thank you for asking me.
Well, prior to the break, we spoke a bit about your background, about your involvement in securing the management and ownership of the Ontario International Airport and the economic impact that has had for our region to date. And well, I will not only say the region, but for the country, given the fact that it's the largest distribution hub in the nation as it stands today.
Yeah, well, as far as cargo through the airport, yes, we're the number one cargo airport in the nation. And we surpassed Atlanta, Georgia, which at the time was the place before us. And you can imagine taking off from the East Coast out of Atlanta and far more efficient than anywhere else. Well, it's efficient here. Maybe we could segue into what does this mean for business in general in our area?
Yes.
Well, we see that there's always this search for we could call dirt. If you're going to start a business, and especially from the ground up, you need affordable dirt. And the property values in this region have gone through the roof since the early 2000s. I can remember being, let's just talk about housing for a second. In 1998, a friend of mine came to town. He was thinking about buying a house, and we were looking at houses in downtown Ontario that were going from anywhere between, I'm not kidding, the high 60s to the low 90,000s.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah. So, and my brother ended up purchasing a house that is a 1-bedroom little house, 600 square feet. And, and he paid close to 200,000 in about 2010. And I was furious. It's like that little place was going for 60,000, 10 years ago. Well, it's on the market right now for almost 500,000.
Oh my goodness.
So you could have come here 23 years ago and purchased, 10 house. No, I don't know. You could have purchased it for $1 million, 10 houses, easy. And those 10 houses now would be worth a king's ransom.
Wow.
And it doesn't matter where you buy. When the business market is growing as fast as it is, all of the people who are involved in the businesses are looking for a place to land. And sometimes they would rather maybe be in upper upland or upper rancho. But if that's just way out of the market, they end up in the interior of our city, and that actually upgrades everything. So our downtown has always had, the downtown area of Ontario was vacated in the 60s when Montclair Plaza was built. All of the big stores, J.C. Penney's, the Sears, and all that, they ran to the plaza and they emptied downtown Ontario. And right now, all of it is now being revitalized because people want to have a business. They want to have a business in town,
Right.
and they can't necessarily afford it just anywhere. But downtown Ontario has become very, very attractive. And the demographics, people don't always understand demographics. You understand demographics,
Of
right?
course. Yes, I do.
So I can't tell you, people tell me, well, as if I own Trader Joe's. Let's just use Trader Joe's as an example. Mayor, I want you to put a Trader Joe's in downtown Ontario. And I say, well, I don't own Trader Joe's, and I don't own any property in downtown Ontario. And even if I did, Trader Joe's would look at the demographics in a single circle, a 1 mile circle, 2, then 5, and say that the 5 mile circle is the furthest reach that people are going to come in, and the people from 1 mile to 5 miles out have to have a certain amount of income before Trader Joe's will put a Trader Joe's in a center.
Right.
And that's for every business, the Starbucks and everything else. I think Starbucks probably takes higher risks than most. But even something as crazy as a Panera Bread.
Right.
So what people don't get is that these businesses do their own demographic studies. But Ontario is now becoming a place where these businesses are saying, you know what? We've seen people take some chances and they're really winning. Maybe we
Right.
need to come there.
Exactly. Exactly. And that's a testament to, your hard work, your team's hard work, the leadership that has cultivated this rich economic environment for everybody to thrive. I can only imagine the residents of Ontario that have lived there for 20, 30 years are being very, very thankful to you for increasing, and your team for increasing their property values, right? Because that's exactly what happens. It's a natural economic result of having a thriving economy within, having so many jobs, having all of these resources and just amazing services that you have right there in Ontario.
So if you read social media, most of the time, oftentimes people say, I've been in this region for 40 years. I have never seen anything change in Ontario. And I just say, you must be living with your eyes closed. And you're right. I mean, all you have to do is look at your property value.
Right.
For some people, though, property value means nothing if they have zero intent on ever selling. Okay, so if this is a home that is going to be generational, I don't care how much it's worth, because I'm going to give it to my kid, who's going to give it to their kid. So they want to see something of value outside of that, but they don't tend to look at the reality of what's going on when you see a downtown Ontario that, when I got here in the 70s, the late 70s, was where you went to see. I'm not making this up. I'm not proud of it. I wasn't, but it's where you went to the Pussycat Theater, or you went to the head shop to get some paraphernalia, or you could go to the No-Tell Motel, and you could, find a dark alley to make a deal. And I stayed away from it. Today, I go down there on a Friday night, and in some corners, it's just full of life, and it's getting bigger and bigger.
Absolutely. And it's through those services that you're able to offer as well. When you're talking about services, right? Within those budgets, law enforcement, you have such a robust, strong, present law enforcement in Ontario. Fire department, same thing. Infrastructure is beautiful. You have dedicated so much of your resources to your roads, to maintaining so many trees that you have, right? Because trees, believe it or not, are an issue in our region because they like to fall over and damage people's properties when the winds come in. But the fact that you're able to manage all of that and do it so beautifully to avoid any issues down the road, be it, unsafe streets, like you said, or damage as a result of unkept trees and landscape that belongs on city property. I mean, those are the things that maybe some people forget about or can easily take for granted. But I see the tremendous advancements just in my short time here, and I've been here only 20 years.
It's a long time. And thanks for noticing. We pay a lot of attention to the aesthetics of our city properties, our parks and everything. And we know that when you drive on a street in Ontario, we don't want you to feel like you're driving on the back of an alligator. Yeah. We want
That's a great analogy. I like that.
Well, there's a lot of streets that you drive down and it looks like an alligator's out there. So we want you to feel comfortable, and your tires shouldn't make any other noises other than what the rubber meeting the road. Right. We also, you're right. We have programs that are cyclical. We have tree trimming and shrub abatement, all this other stuff that is going on. We look at our community on a regular basis, and we try to find ways to improve it, and we put money away to do that. And the other thing is that people don't understand, and if I had a chance, I would do nothing but educate people on how money is acquired and then spent by local government, because they tend to think that we're like federal government. And I'm going to surprise everybody out there. The federal government prints their own money. They didn't earn it.
Well, I guess that's, one of the benefits or non-benefits to us citizens of the federal government, which brings me to the next point, right? So There's recently been a ballot measure to address some of these economic disparities and distributions of tax revenue back to the county of San Bernardino. There's a ballot measure. It's called the Fair Share Initiative, and it's shown as EE on the ballot this November. Yes, and D. But please talk a little bit about why that measure is so important and why residents in the region, both in Ontario and in the region of San Bernardino County, should pay attention to this and, hopefully support this measure.
Yeah, I hope that people understand that I am looking into a very bright light. I was texted by my wife that my eyes are slanted.
You're squinting. You're squinting.
I am squinting because this light is like just killing me. So I'm going to try to put my glasses on again and see if that helps at all, because they get a little dark. So we're talking about propositions D and EE. Well, the whole thing is that when the state is the collector of finances, of taxes, so on your property tax, on your retail tax, on your vehicle tax, on your gas tax, every tax that's out there, it's collected by the state. And then the state, or it's collected by the vendor who pays it to the state. Then when the state gets it, they send off the amount to the federal government. They send off a certain amount to the county, but they hold it. And I always liken it to, if my kid was having a lemonade stand in the front yard and was selling lemonade, but they had to buy their lemons, for 5 cents a piece. Right. And so they brought me 25 cents, but they used 2 lemons. Their cost means that they have 10 cents, leaves 15 cents. And so I can charge them 5 cents for using the yard. But the state doesn't work like that. They look around and they go, well, how can we keep as much money as we can? And so and once they have it, they have a tendency to keep it, and then they dole it out what they have to, but then they always look in to say, well, like redevelopment, for instance. Okay, we're just going to take that away from you, or going back to the 90s ERAP. Okay, well, the money for schools. Well, we're just take that away from you.
Right.
Wait a minute, that was taken. You got it to give to me.
Right.
Now you just say you're going to keep it.
Right.
So,
that was the premise for them to collect it in the first place.
Yeah. Yeah. So what ends up happening is that we don't always end up in our hands with our fair share. So if they collect money, let's say for roads off the gas tax, but if coming to San Bernardino is 10% of everything they collected, but they go, you know what, we're going to spend 95% outside of San Bernardino, so we only get 5%, but they collected 10% for us. So what this initiative is really saying, it's really a threat. If you don't start giving us our due tax dollars back and spend it here, we might as well just create a new state so that we can govern the money that we're collecting from people from taxes, because you're not spending it here. You're spending it elsewhere. And then you're turning around and you're putting on our backs new jails, other things, or you're releasing prisoners into our system and then requiring our probation and DA to look after them without giving them any money to do that. They're not from here to begin with. You just send them here. So if you're going to play that game, then we're going to create our own state, keep our own money, and be fair to ourselves.
Right. Manage your own funds.
Yeah. So it's just a way to get their attention, and maybe these folks will start to do the right thing with the money and with the unfunded liabilities that they lay on our plate all the time. So I'm all for it.
Absolutely. I mean, when you talk about redevelopment, my background is a community development block grant board member, I should say. That's exactly right. They are supposed to give you money to invest back into your communities because you're, paying into the tax system. And during my time as a CDBG member, that's when they were really cut.
No.
They're being retracted little by little, and sometimes so much so that you have nothing left, and it makes bodies like that with their hands tied and not able to serve the communities that they're there to serve by distributing these funds based on matrix that makes sense, that have the greatest needs in the community.
Yeah, you should run for office.
I tried that once. I had fun, but I'll leave that to people like yourself. You guys are wonderful. You're leaders. You're doing amazing things. And I just want to talk about, future development in Ontario. And I understand, some people get a little bit upset about the warehouses, but there's a method to that. And there's a reason why, you place the warehouses where you place them. And a lot of that has to do with CEQA. Right. So let's talk a little bit about that so that we can, be educated as to, the rationale behind the efforts.
Well, CEQA is when you're dealing with the quality of anything, air, quality of life,
right.
Quality of the ground, quality of the air, quality of the water. And so when all of a sudden the acronym slips my mind, CEQA is the
I believe it's the California Environmental Quality Act.
Yeah, thank you. The California Environmental Quality Act. So whatever you do has to adapt to the quality of the area. And so some projects have been stopped because the quality of life of a fly, a flower-loving sandfly,
right,
has to be figured out in order to do a project. And then if you can't figure it out, then you just have to leave that land alone. Where a lot of people consider dairies, for instance, they call them farms, but I keep telling people dairies, they're an industry. Just like I would say a citrus grove is more of a farm than a dairy, because a dairy, and people don't like me to say this, but it's true. Because you can just think about it. Go look at a dairy. Those cows are just machines that put out milk. There's nobody out there loving them and calling them Bessie and Betty and Sandra and everything. These are just machines, and they live and die, and nobody cares. And I care. It bothers me that there's no love for these animals. But the dairy industry is a polluting industry. When we think of the urine and the nitrates, the salts that go down through the ground, the cow pies or their feces that also goes down into the ground, then the one thing that people rarely know about is that the flatulence of cows is so egregious that the squad, AOC and those, they actually promoted, and Nancy Pelosi agreed with them, that maybe we should put skirts on cows in dairies with a little hose that sucks the methane gas away from them. And I got to tell you, that's if we were going to keep cows here, I'm all for that, because when people go into a dairy area and it smells, it's not the urine or the cow pie, it's the flatulence. And when you have millions, of cows in your
Right.
region.
It
For
adds up.
100 years, they've been messing with the environment. CEQA itself said that.
Right.
So they have mitigation. So there are all these pools of water that collects off of these dairy industrial complexes. That's really what they are.
Right.
And they work their way down as they pour over the top into the next one, pour over the top of the next one. And as the top one dries, they're supposed to pull all that stuff up out of the ground, and it's a really messy industry. And
Right.
whenever there's an industry and population moves towards the industry, if the industry pollutes too much for the population, the industry moves, whether it's the steel mill or the whatever it is that's creating the pollution, it has to go so the people can come.
Right.
Okay, I'll wrap this up. So basically,
thank you so much, Mayor. I'm looking forward to having you on again very, very soon. I just love everything that you're doing. The residents of Ontario must love what you're doing because, being an economic motor, increasing property values and providing stellar services is second to none. So thank you so much for being with us today, Mayor Leon.
Thank you for having me.
All right. So for everybody listening today, don't forget to look for us on Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, and Instagram. Check us out on scbrtalk.com. And don't forget to download the free live streaming app on Google Play or the Apple App Store. Don't miss my interview with Rob Paramus, the founder of U Makers Makerspace in Upland, California. A makerspace is where members go to invent and make products structured as a mutual benefit core. It is part of the sharing economy similar to Uber, Lyft, Airbnb, VBRO. U Makers Makerspace provides low-cost space, tools, materials, and training, as well as education on new product development, art, industrial design, school, and small business incubators. Next week, we will have, for the first time, 2 guests, Mayor Aquanetta Warren of Fontana, California, and San Bernardino County District Attorney Jason Anderson. Aquanetta Warren was elected as mayor in December 2010 and is now serving her 3rd term as the mayor of the city of Fontana. Mayor Warren focuses her administrations on bolstering economic development, creating educational opportunities, and advocating for a healthier community. As a nationally recognized leader, Mayor Warren serves as chairwoman of the Workforce, Career, and Technical Education Task Force, and vice chairwoman of the Youth Issues Committee with the U.S. Conference of Mayors, member of the Intergovernmental Policy Advisory Committee to focus on trade issues, member of Southern California Association of Governments, Community Economic and Human Development Community, member of the Board of Directors, General Policy Committee, and Transit Committee of the San Bernardino County Transportation Authority. San Bernardino County District Attorney Jason Anderson has been a member of the California State Bar since 1997. He graduated from Regent University School of Law in Virginia in 1996. Mr. Anderson served as a deputy district attorney for the county of San Bernardino from 1998 until 2014. In this capacity, he worked as a prosecutor handling a variety of serious cases, particularly in the Crimes Against Children Unit for 13 years. Mr. Anderson has been married for 26 years and has 2 children. District Attorney Anderson's mission includes respecting and inspiring confidence in the rule of law, both inside and outside the office, collaboratively ensuring justice with excellence, integrity, and compassion, stewarding public resources to hold the guilty accountable, support victims of crime, and honoring the humanity of all involved in the criminal justice system, and restoring a culture of service and accountability to the San Bernardino County District Office. Everyone, we will see you next Tuesday. Do not miss it.
This